And now, aviation weather around Alaska. Greetings, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan, here now with your aviation weather outlook for this Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. Looking at the satellite imagery, this from overnight into this mid-Wednesday morning. We have a ridge of high pressure in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. This is the dominant feature that's causing the warmer temperatures across much of the mainland and south-central areas of the state. Weak high pressure just southwest of the Gulf over the North Pacific with a ridge extending northward up into the southwest mainland. And then we have a couple of thermal troughs extending in through areas of the eastern interior and along the Alaska Range and then back up here into northwest Canada. Area of low pressure lifting now to the northeast of the western Aleutians up into the southwest portion of the Bering Sea with an occluded front arcing ahead of it. And with this frontal system, it will make some progress eastward before diminishing. A stronger front will be working its way toward the southwest coast as we head into this weekend by Saturday. But in the meantime, the ridge here over south central, southeast mainland will be the dominant feature the rest of this week going into the early weekend. Flying weather early Thursday morning. Of course, we expect IFR conditions out over the cooler waters of the Gulf with the high pressure in place. So expect marine layer, lower ceiling, some areas of fog. Also to the west, we have IFR conditions from Utqiagvik out over the Chukchi Sea, Arctic Ocean, and then back down here across a good section of the Bering Sea, offshore of the southwest coast, and then extending out along the Aleutian chain. For Thursday afternoon, we expect isolated to scattered thunderstorms popping up with the daytime heating from areas of the southwest interior along and south of the Alaska Range, especially around the Talkeetna Mountains, Wrangell St. Elias, along the Elcan border, even mid-upper portions of the Tanana Valley into the far northern mountains there of the Panhandle, including in the vicinity of Skagway and up toward Chilkoot and White's Pass. Now, here's a map just highlighting areas of convection possible where there could be cumulus buildups, scattered thunderstorms, and showers forming. Again, up along areas of the lower to near middle Yukon Valley in the southwest interior. For Friday morning, we expect VFR conditions across much of the mainland. Some areas of IFR over the Gulf may be nudging up toward Whittier and portions of western part of Prince William Sound, and also IFR along the coastline, Wainwright, Utqiagvik up into the Arctic Ocean, and then along the southwestern coast, especially in the vicinity, Hooper Bay, including Itolen Strait, Nunavik Island, and then out over the Bering and covering much of the Aleutian chain. Still, again, Friday afternoon, we expect redevelopment of scattered showers and thunderstorms along areas of the Talkeetna Mountains, the southeastern mountains, including Wrangell St. Elias, on up toward the lower middle Tanana Valley, across the Yukon, on up toward the central and even southwest part of the Brooks Range. Could see isolated to scattered thunderstorms Friday afternoon and evening. Again, this area a little harder to see in the orangish tan color, showing where we expect some thunderstorms to develop there Friday afternoon. Anaktuvik Pass will generally see VFR conditions here on Thursday. Adigan Pass VFR as well. Lake Clark Merrill, we expect VFR conditions for Thursday. And as we begin to come up toward the central Alaska Range, Rainy Pass VFR with perhaps an isolated thunderstorm possible in vicinity there. Same thing, Windy Pass, generally VFR conditions, but an isolated thunderstorm could pop up in vicinity of the pass Thursday afternoon and evening. Isabel also VFR with a thunderstorm possible within vicinity of the pass, as will be the case as we go toward Mentasta Pass. VFR conditions, though, anticipated. Crossing the Copper River Basin, isolated scattered showers and thunderstorms could develop with the daytime heating. Tanita Pass, generally VFR conditions are expected. Portage Pass, a split again. Eastern half of the pass, MVFR throughout the day. To the west, west entrance, western half VFR. And then in the far northern Panhandle, Chilkoot and White will generally see VFR conditions, but in and around the mountains, we expect some cumulus buildups, scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms will be possible Thursday afternoon and evening. So we have the mid-level 500 millibar ridge smack dab over south central here on Thursday. That feature will recenter a little bit more over southeast mainland and out the ridge axis extending just inland from the Panhandle into northwest Canada as we go into the early weekend. Warmest temperatures aloft remain here over the southwest, 12,000-foot freezing level over the southwest mainland, the Alaska Peninsula, with an area near 14,000 feet south of the eastern Aleutians within the North Pacific. Farther north, we do see freezing levels fall off to 8,000 feet along the north slope and then 6,000 feet off the Arctic coast. Greatest threat of any icing, relatively on the low end, isolated moderate icing possible above 9,000 feet along the northwest coast, Point Hope on up toward areas there, about maybe Cape Lisburn. But as we go further west, above 14,000 feet here over the central Bering Sea, and then behind me with that area of low pressure, that there's another low out here, way out west of the Aleutians. So above 14,000 feet, we may encounter some form of icing, moderate icing there. Now, looking at the upper level jet stream winds, not a whole lot going on across the southern mainland. Northwest flow aloft at 30,000 feet to 75 knots along the east end of the Brooks Range. Behind me, we find winds in excess of 95 to over 100 knots, way west of the eastern Aleutians toward Kamchatka, coast of Japan. And then bringing it down to 500 millibars, we do have a ridge-centered high pressure here over south central and the flow around it. We don't expect any really strong winds there at 9,000 feet. Strongest winds are out here, western Aleutians, 45 to 65 knots, approaching with the next low and frontal system. And then on Thursday, winds relatively light across the mainland. Though along the southwest coast, Tolan Strait, we could see 35 to near 40 knot winds at 3,000 feet from the south and southwest across St. Lawrence Island into eastern Russia. And then out here way to the southwest of the western Aleutians, 35 to 50 knot winds associated with the next system that will be trying to move inland. And I'll just step back here. Quiet conditions across the mainland as far as turbulence is concerned, other than due to isolated convection in and near some showers and thunderstorms. But as far as the broader synoptic pattern and the winds, there could be some pockets of moderate turbulence, western Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, St. Matthew, areas along the lower Yukon Delta, Tolan Strait, as well as the lower part of the Alaska Peninsula, generally 3,000 to 4,000 feet, and then farther west, the western half of the Aleutian chain could see some considerable moderate turbulence from the surface to 3,000 feet.